there have been moments when people become so upset about something, and those moments are called controversies, and they spread like wildfire. From my understanding, there are two reasons for a controversy to occur. Companies becoming very greedy, or the politically correct being easily offended. Which one is it, you're probably asking? Well, let us take a look at our top 10 list of controversies. Number 10. Far Cry 5, Religion and Rednecks.
God will never let you take me.
There were a lot of people upset about there being a video game portraying a religious group resulting to violence. And this religious group is led by a man named John Seed. Now, here's the thing. The controversy makes absolutely no sense at all. In real life, there are such religious groups or cults like the one led by John Seed, and they are violent. There have been many incidents regarding them. But of course, you have people who do not care and say that this game is politically and religiously offensive. I'm pretty sure God would disagree. Faith can be blind, and not every man of faith is righteous. Of course, you have a lot of the rednecks from places like Texas and so forth saying, "Oh, you can't portray us like this." They are not portraying you. They're portraying all the overzealous religious nutcases who are murdering women and children. Oh yeah, there are people like that, and they are living among you. There are men, just like John Seed, who claim that they are the Messiah, who are going to purge all sin from the world, when actually they're bringing sin to the world. They're saying that this is politically offensive. I'm sorry, what is this, the Dark Ages? Religion and politics don't go together anymore. I do believe that there is a quote from the movie Angels and Demons that says, "Religion is flawed, but only because man is flawed." And guess what? Your so-called political defense is flawed. Number 9. BlizzCon, Diablo Immortal.
Everybody, hello BlizzCon.
In this controversy, everyone has the right to be upset. Many Diablo fans were expecting Diablo 4 to be made, or at least another expansion for Diablo 3, but what they did not realize was that Blizzard was planning on moving on to mobile apps. And instead of creating a sequel to Diablo, or a PC game, they decided to create a spin-off that would be mostly just a mobile app. The BlizzCon conference ended on a rather disastrous note, as their audiences quickly went from cheering to booing. With all of that happening, you would expect Blizzard to apologize, right?
Wrong!
Instead, Blizzard comes up with a very lame excuse. They ask, "You all have cell phones, right?" Most gamers do not like to play video games on their cell phones. We prefer PC, we prefer console, but not cell phones. Not only that, but they said that they had no plans for a Diablo 4. And with this being a mobile game, there is definitely the possibility that this game will have loot boxes and microtransactions. Oh yes, the only reason why the auction house system in Diablo 3 was removed was because Blizzard was forced to, and I do believe that there was some sort of lawsuit involved back then. Number 8. It. Killer Clowns. Since my owner is so scared of clowns, I decided to not show any direct shots of the clown himself.
Thank you.
This controversy is pretty dumb, although I'm pretty sure for anyone who hates clowns, they would disagree. There are people who hated the fact that there is a killer clown as the villain of this film. You know, because there have been real-life sightings of killer clowns, and children ending up missing, or their dead bodies are found, revolving around cases regarding killer clowns. Well, there is this Stephen King miniseries, It, that came out sometime in the 1980s. And who's the villain in that miniseries? Oh yes, a killer clown! What's next? You can't have a movie about a villainous transvestite?
I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
The movie is based on a book about a killer clown. The makers of the film are just following the source material. You can't blame them for that. Number 7. The Ghostbusters reboot. Fan or misogynist? This was a controversy that existed 2 years ago, and it had no reason to exist. Now, you're all probably wondering, oh, Caesar, why are you arguing this? No one's arguing it anymore.
Wrong!
There were a series of arguments comprised of SJWs and all sorts of social media movements founded over this one movie, which serves as the reboot of the Ghostbusters series. And the subject of the complaint is the fact that it is a Ghostbusters reboot with an all-female cast. Some of the original cast members were given cameos in this film, but that doesn't mean it makes it any better. It is still being argued. You may think it's not being argued, but trust me, there are a few die-hard SJWs who don't want to let it go. They are still arguing it. In fact, did you know that Sandra Bullock, just a few months ago, she made mention of the controversy like it was yesterday? There were constant left and right arguments from fans. I mean, seriously, the argument was like this. If you loved this movie, then you were against the original films. You know, Ghostbusters 1 and 2. But if you hated this film, then you're a sexist pig. There was no in-between. If you didn't see the film, you were wrong. But if you saw it, you were still wrong. No one in these arguments won. I know of one critic on YouTube who calls himself the Nostalgia Critic, and he was one of the few critics brave enough to stand up against all the social media movements who were provoking him because he hated the movie. So, you think that everyone who hates this film is a misogynist because it is an all-female cast film? That's very interesting because I have heard of a couple of other critics on YouTube. They're both female critics. There's Zoe from the channel Wrapped Up in Film, and I think, I could be wrong, but I think Adorkable Rachel also did a review on Ghostbusters, the reboot. And wouldn't you know it, they did not like the movie. No, they didn't. How about that? There were women who did not like the movie. So, tell me, the people who hate the film, are they all misogynists? What, no answer? I didn't think so. Number 6. Metal Gear Survive. Well, it's official. Metal Gear did not survive. By now, many of you already know about the Metal Gear series, a tactical espionage series of games. Well, it went from tactical espionage to zombie apocalypse. Yeah, I don't know the full story, but Metal Gear Survive decided to become a typical zombie game that acts like it's partially broken, and all the survival mechanics are just messed up. The one person I know who has the best amount of details about the game is another critic named Angry Joe. He did a review on this game, and oh boy, did he hate it. It is so stupid that I would rather play The Phantom Pain. That's how stupid this game is. In fact, it also acts like it's some kind of mod or expansion for The Phantom Pain, as it uses the exact same gameplay engine, as in the Fox engine. And of course, this was Konami's way of waving the middle finger at Hideo Kojima, the founder of the Metal Gear series, whom they decided to fire and remove all traces of existence of. Yeah, that's right. They revisited all of his games and they erased his name from all the credits. Kojima practically never existed, according to them. And there was even an encrypted message that they implanted into the game that said Kojima sucks. Yang can tell you all about it. In fact, he made a video of it. I also heard that this game has very bad boss fights, and you can build fences that zombies can't go around. Yeah, that's how stupid the AI in this game is. And there's supposed to be difficulty settings. All the difficulty settings are easy. And also, the game has a really lousy ending. Your character does not survive. He never goes back home. No, he dies in the zombie world. And also, when did Morpheus from The Matrix get casted in this game? There's a character who looks and sounds just like him. there was also microtransactions put in this game. And some of those microtransactions, oh man, some of those microtransactions had you buying save slots for $10. Yeah, $10 per save slot. That is so stupid! Number 5. Doom Eternal, Mortally Challenged. The new Doom game, called Doom Eternal, has this joke. There's this hologram that says demon can be an offensive term. Refer to them as mortally challenged. This was supposed to be a joke making fun of political correctness. But of course, there were SJWs who did not have anything else to argue about, so they decided that Bethesda and id Software were being very offensive and were depicting the demons as immigrants, or migrants, if that's what you prefer calling them. You get all of the migrant sympathizers and anti-Trump protesters saying, "Oh, this is terrible. This game is portraying migrants as monsters." No, it's not! As a Doom fan, I am very offended by your arrogance and stupidity. Obviously, you can't take a joke. And besides, Doom has always been about one thing: killing demons from hell. I mean, seriously, that's just terrible. I mean, that would be like saying that Satan is a Mexican guitarist. I mean, come on! But if you wish to continue your arguments, saying that Doom Eternal promotes violence against migrants, and that Doom Guy is a racist Caucasian killing migrants, be my guest, because you know nothing about Doom! Number 4. Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Gender and Racial Diversity. Star Wars has a variety of controversies, but for now, I'm just covering one of them. Apparently, everyone is so upset that there are a lot of female characters in Star Wars, as well as various characters of various ethnicities. Like, for example, we have an Asian character named Rose, and we also have, we also have an African-American stormtrooper. Everyone is just so upset. I mean, they're the kind of people we call snowflakes. White male Americans who hate absolutely anything that is not white male. Oh no, they don't like female characters taking over in lead roles. They don't want racial diversity. Okay, do any of you know the original storyline to Star Wars? I mean, there were female characters even in that. Okay, don't you remember the characters Mara Jade Skywalker, Mitra Surik? You know, any of those characters? Oh, and Jaina Solo. One of the Solo twins who's no longer canon, but you get the point, right? Right? And wow, I didn't know that Lando Calrissian was white. You're all a bunch of idiots! And let's not forget Mace Windu. I'm pretty sure Samuel L. Jackson is feeling very insulted right about now by your insults. 3 of the actors, 2 of them are the actresses Daisy Ridley and Kelly Tram, and the actor John Boyega. They have shut down their Twitter accounts because the arguments from the Star Wars fans, or the ones who claim to be fans, have gotten so worse, okay? It kept escalating further and further that they just kept getting bullied left and right. It's official. It is dangerous for anyone to be an actor for Star Wars. I mean, we all remember what happened to the actors who played Padme Amidala and Jar Jar Binks, as well as the actor who played the young Darth Vader. Well, 2 of the actors. I mean, seriously, just let it go. I mean, as Kylo Ren says, let the past die. Kill it. It's the only way to become what you are meant to be. Number 3. Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, Racism and Capitalism. Just when I was recently talking about snowflakes, there's more of them. Yes, more of them. Back in 2014, many people were excited about the release of Wolfenstein: The New Order. They cherished the game. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, 3 years later, They start speaking hatred about Nazis. Come on. I mean, really, if they were offended that the Nazis were portrayed as Caucasian racists. Hello? That's what the Nazis were in real life. They were white supremacists. I mean, okay, the game is not historically accurate since it takes place in an alternate timeline where the Nazis have taken over the world, but the depiction of the Nazis is accurate. And, oh, you don't like accurate? What, they're not being inclusive? Let me tell you something. The Nazis did not care about inclusiveness, okay? They did not like anyone who was not of German blood or didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, okay? They hated everyone but themselves. Let's have black Nazis in this game. Oh yeah, like, I'm sure that's going to sell very well. Some of you people have probably watched too much of that scene of Samuel L. Jackson dressed up as a Nazi in that movie. What was it called? The Spirit? That was a very stupid movie, by the way. And you're making claims that the resistance are communists? They're capitalists! But you wouldn't know what capitalism is, nor would you remember capitalism, because the America today is socialist. You know, because of the social media and all that. It would seem that America has gone from politically smart to politically stupid. Let's just go to the next item on the list, please. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Number 2. Command & Conquer Rivals. Well, you all know the story. My very first review was about this game, which has not yet been fully released, but I can definitely tell you that, this game, if it ever does see release, I'm still not getting it. Oh no, it is so terrible. EA claims that this is their best way to revive the series, which has been dead since Command & Conquer 4 Tiberian Twilight. And that guy from EA, I finally know his name, Patrick Soderlund. He was the one who said, oh, give this game a chance. Okay, really, it may be a better game than you think. And then shortly after that, Patrick Soderlund resigned. Well, I'm glad he did, but I don't think it's going to make the situation any better. A Command & Conquer game that isn't really Command & Conquer and it forces monetization on the players. Oh, they may say that they're not going to put in loot boxes and microtransactions, and yet one of the players discovers a loot box in the game. And you can be sure that there's going to be microtransactions in it. I mean, EA has been known to lie. A lot. You may hear the trailer song saying, working so long for the glory days. These are not the glory days of Command & Conquer. Okay? Far from it! EA, or the fascist GDI, shall burn for their crimes! And the number 1 controversy is the release of Fallout 76. Oh, you thought I was done arguing that, huh? Oh no! I'm far from being done! Bethesda, a once glorious video game company, turns to the dark side of monetization and cheap knockoffs. I can't believe it! They released a game that was broken. And not only that, but they made a Fallout game that completely goes against elements of the lore, as well as being fully multiplayer in a dead, barren wasteland. Yeah, there are no human NPCs. No other NPCs of any kind, although there was actually a word about only one NPC being in the game. A super mutant with a Brahmin, I think. I think that's what I heard. But still, it's stupid, okay? Oh, and the other thing that I want to talk about. You all know the collector's edition known as the Armor Edition, right? They got every item right except for this duffel bag that Bethesda once promised, which later turned out to be a nylon bag. Yeah, which is cheaper and more of a piece of garbage than what they promised originally. And what was their excuse? Oh, we ran out of money. We couldn't afford the expensive materials to make the duffel bag. Oh, really? Because you offered special Fallout 76 backpacks for free for anyone who had partaken in the E3 and QuakeCon conferences. And guess what those backpacks are made out of? Some of the very same materials that were used to make the original duffel bag. So, what was that excuse you were saying about running out of money and not being able to afford all the expensive materials? What was that again? Because, this is all starting to sound very hypocritical, Bethesda. Oh, yeah. And, what's the other thing I want to talk about? Oh, yes, they had this excuse saying, oh, okay, you want a refund for the Armor Edition? We'll give you, 500 atoms, which is the in-game currency. Yeah, the in-game microtransaction currency, which if you translate it to dollars, it's $5. So, you spend $200 on the Armor Edition, and yet you only get 5 of those dollars back? Are you kidding me? It's not even real money! And besides, this game turned out to be exactly what I expected from any other multiplayer game. A very typical multiplayer game, with players harassing each other. If they're not harassing each other by killing each other's characters, they're harassing each other through the microphones. Kill the microphone feature, okay? Just get rid of it. They all say that they're patching up the game. Well, even if they do get the game fully patched, and even if they do decide to put in human NPCs, I'm still not getting this game. Because, 1, I care about the lore, and 2, I don't want a full-out multiplayer game. I want single player. Just like all the other games. And if you so much as put in a microtransaction system in Fallout 5, or in The Elder Scrolls 6, or in Starfield, I am going to send some assassins after you, Todd Howard. Make no mistake. Well, do you agree with my top 10 list? Let me know of any other controversies in the comments below. Thank you for taking the time to listen. As always, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Goodbye!